104 106. It reminds me of an email that I received recently. I heard your show, this would have been probably Friday's show. I heard your show yesterday and I picked up on the issues regarding members of the Roma community and where they live. Yes, this has to do with an unfortunate case of a woman who's got shocking neighbours above her. Really and truly, they party all day and into the wee hours of the night. She feels very unsafe. And City Council just seem to be turning a deaf ear to it all. Anyway, I work in the motor trade. A few years ago, while working in a garage, I came across a car valeting business. I won't say what part of the city, actually, if you don't mind, even though the emailer tells me, so I won't be doing disservice to car valeters in any particular area. Anyway, I came across a car valeter business. I got friendly with the owner. He started boasting to me, telling me that he lived in a HAP house, in which he had all of his staff living in the house with him. Himself and his wife were claiming disability. I know he paid his staff very little, but he loved flashing wads of cash around. When I pulled him up at it and said this was human trafficking, he just laughed at me, as in having all of the staff living in the house with him, the HAP house. Needless to say, I distanced myself from him. The invoices he had were the ones that you get from the pound shop, so he wasn't registered for tax and was only dealing in cash. He showed me pictures of his home in Romania, and it was a mansion. On the same topic, a good friend of mine living in Dublin had a house in Leopardstown. He rented it to a similar family. The rent, again, was on HAP. After about 6 months, the rent totally dried up. So after a lot of stress and time, he eventually got them out. He began to clear the house out and found a black bag full of credit card statements in all different names, but with the same Leopardstown house address. I know everyone will say, I'm not racist, which I am not. But letting people into our country to take and take and take from our system is totally stupid. And I feel the government is more concerned about now being called racist themselves, that they just let them use this country as nothing short of a cash cow. So thank you for that one. Keep them coming. Text 0868 104 106. You recently mentioned a foreign woman's claim she had been trafficked into Ireland to have her organs harvested. Yes, I did. You made mention of this and nothing more. I can tell you the fact is Ireland is the worst country in Western Europe when it comes to human trafficking. When public figures of influence and reach, such as your good self, turn a blind eye to such realities out of some exploitable need to be kind through a fear of being branded racist, you, Neil, are enabling this behaviour. The fact is, not a week goes by where we do not hear of some violent, sexual or gang-related crimes be committed by our foreign guests. Unsurprisingly, since our foreign guests are disproportionately represented in our crime statistics, with foreign nationals committing rape at up to 10 times the rate of the Irish population, and when public figures of influence and reach like yourself turn a blind eye to these realities out of some need to be kind, you enable this behaviour. The fact is, our elected officials have absolutely no idea how many foreign nationals and illegal aliens are within our borders. Instead of tackling this problem through asylum and immigration reform, they just invite more in and give amnesty to those already here, thus putting Irish women and children and minorities at ever more physical or sexual risk and forcing Irish men to act themselves. Not quite sure what that means. When public figures of influence and reach like you turn a blind eye to these realities, out of some exploitable need to be kind, you enable it. These are not the ramblings of an incoherent racist. Every word I've written is a verifiable fact that I'd encourage you and your listeners to research. The irony is, all my foreign friends, of whom are many, view these issues the same as I do. They're intelligent men and women who came to this country under different circumstances, ranging from asylum seekers who went through direct provision system to professionals who came here for employment opportunities and everything in between. Though our backgrounds vary, all of us can see the writing on the wall. So that's a very interesting email that got me thinking. And I mean, you're referencing, say, for instance, as an example, the 5,000 people who yesterday got Irish citizenship at a ceremony down in Killarney, and all of those here to work and to contribute and make Ireland a better country. But that email referenced one particular stat, and that was the amount of people from overseas within our country who are, the emailer was saying, not a week goes by doing here violent sexual gang-related crime by foreign guests, and they're disproportionately engaged in more criminality. than the Irish native population. He says 10 times more crime. That's actually a quote from a pioneering study by the Rape Crisis Network on why convictions for rape are the way they are in Ireland, right? So they looked at that. The convictions are low in Ireland for rape, unfortunately, way too low. So that was the study that they did. It's very, very long. And at the weekend, I had a look through it. I couldn't go through all of it, obviously, but I went through different aspects of it. And that emailer is actually picking up on a table 5.1. It's called Suspect Characteristics on Nationality. All right. So this is the Rape and Justice Ireland report that you can read yourself online. It's called rapeandjusticeireland.ie, pioneering study by the Rape Crisis Centre. And this table shows the nationality of suspects. Now, 75.1% were Irish nationals. All right. 71.1% were Irish nationals. But all the other nationalities, besides the Irish, demonstrated a higher than expected frequency of being accused of rape. Particularly significant are the differences between the resident national population of Africa and Eastern Europe and the number of individuals accused of rape from these countries. It's actually alarming, the difference in stats. It backs up what the emailer was saying. African men were approximately 10 times more likely to be accused of rape than would be expected, and Eastern European suspects were over 7 times more likely to be accused of rape, given the proportion of the population that comes from Eastern Europe. So what it's saying is, based on the proportion of people that come from, say, Africa or Eastern Europe, right? Based on the proportion of those that are here from Africa or Eastern Europe, there's a significant difference in the numbers of those people from those countries accused of rape. African men approximately 10 times more likely to be accused of rape than would be expected by virtue of the amount or the percentage of Africans here as part of the population, and the same for Eastern Europe. So that's the statistic. It's an alarming one, and it features, and it's there for all to read, in a pioneering study by the Rape Crisis Network on why convictions in the first place for rape are so low in Ireland, and it's called the Rape and Justice Ireland Report, and it's available online. Indeed, you know the drill. 0818 104 106. Get on those phones. Last call today, because I'll run out of time. Pick it up in the morning. John, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. How are you getting on?
I'm good, thanks. Now, Owen English, senior reporter with the Irish Examiner, and many of the staff down there are doing a 3-day series on criminality in Cork, and they break it down into all sorts of different subsections, including whether you live on the north side or the south side. You wish to pick up on that, like many people this morning. Go ahead.
I do. I don't think. We've a serious drug epidemic at the moment all over the country, which, in my opinion, is fueling crime in all areas. But migrant crime as well. Like, there's a lot of migrant crime going on in the country as well at the moment, and I know you're probably saying there's a lot of Irish criminals as well. But my point is,
this survey so far, the work that they've done doesn't break that down. So I can't comment on stats in that regard, you know.
Well, I'll tell you, Neil, if you've a lot of researchers there, if you looked into it yourselves, you'd see the newspapers, radios, online, the amount of crimes being committed by non-nationals is actually quite frightening. It's
nigh and impossible to get a breakdown of crimes committed by people and what countries they came to Ireland from. It's even on the CSO. I mean, I can request it again and see, but I have tried in the past.
What they're doing as well now is you're seeing if a migrant commits a crime, it's local man, Mac whatever, was in the country 6 months. He's classed as a local man. Do you know what I mean? You could go by names. I know now there's people living here years, and people are very welcome to come to Ireland. But my point as well is, if you commit a crime in Ireland as a migrant, you should be deported.
Okay. People are deported, though.
They're not.
Okay.
Well, your man sent a couple of planes out there with like 35 people on it or something.
Okay. I knew you were coming, so I had a quick chance to Google this in the ad break. Up to June of this year alone, 1,940 deportation orders have been signed. 888 people have departed the state through various mechanisms. So of the 1,900 orders, 888 have gone. In fact, there's been an increase in those who are voluntarily leaving the country and going back to their own country as well. Chartered flights are being used to deport people 3 operations in this year alone. 3 flights that removed only 106 people. They must have been small planes, anyway.
I'd be very reluctant to believe any stats that the government are putting out, because before the election last year, they were telling us they built all these houses, and when it turned out they didn't build half of what they said. And now, even with the housing situation, they're saying this year they're going to fall well below what they expected are. So, but my point being as well, Neil, is if I was in Australia, okay, and I commit a serious crime, or any kind of a crime, I get a prison sentence and then I'll be deported. Why aren't we doing that here?
Okay, I accept all of that, but...
this ethnic minority thing. We all know who the ethnic minority is in this country as well. But being an ethnic minority does not give you a pass to do whatever you want, which they seem to get away with a lot of stuff. And ethnic minority, we can't do anything with them. Do you know? Like, I'm...
Nobody should be above the law, regardless of who they are.
I'm not going to mention any names, no, or anything like that, Neil, so don't get nervous. But there's a park as you come into Fermoy, right? There's an ethnic minority in there for the last 5 years or maybe more. There's been injunctions to get them out. It's a public park. They have mobile homes in there. They've built stables for their horses in there. Now, if that was me or you, we'd be out within a week. Why is this ethnic minority allowed to stay there 5-6 years? And court injunctions, court orders aren't being enforced?
Well, if it's a court order, then the court order should be imposed and it should be followed up on. It should be actioned.
Yeah. But why isn't it?
I have no idea. I'm not aware of that case. What I'm aware of, though, is the minute they start talking about a breakdown in crime in Cork, right?
Yeah.
Those that are going to jail, the age they are, where they're from, their backgrounds, issues with regards to addictions, repeat offenders. You, John, and others, all of a sudden then ignore all of that and start going on about ethnic minorities and people from other countries. Why is that?
Well, the north side now, I tell you one thing, I have a lot of relations up there, and there's ethnic minorities up there who've been raided again recently. Dogs and horses and everything taken off them. They're terrorising the young fellas around the estate, and they're committing a lot of crimes up there. But you know what I mean? So, ethnic minorities...
Well, why do we automatically, when we talk about... Okay, I accept that. Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But why, when we talk about crime, thefts, assault, public order, drug use, drug sale, weapons offences, robberies, burglaries... all sorts of stuff like that. Why do people automatically talk about people of a different colour skin? Blaming them for...
But with the media has a great thing of saying it, and I'm not... You need media. I watch all media. I'm not deferential and don't watch this. But when you go on about migrant crime, right, the media straight away, like what you said there now, Neil, and you have a good point. Like, Irish people commit crimes as well. Of course we do. Of course we have our own Irish criminals. But why are we letting criminals in from other jurisdictions when we have plenty of our own? That argument does not wash with me, like that the Irish have commit crimes as well.
That would have to be international protection applicants you're referring to, so?
Well, like if you went to any country in the world and went in there without a passport, you've immediately committed a crime, right? So they're coming to Ireland with no passports, so they've immediately committed a crime. So they're thinking, we can get away what we want in this country. Sure, like we got away without a passport.
So you think it's intentional then that those statistics get buried and they're almost impossible to find out the criminality of those who come from other countries and what countries they were?
Of course they do.
Okay.
Like, you look at that fellow up in Dublin who attacked those 3 young children or that group of kids in kindergarten, because he hasn't been in court yet. It keeps getting put back because they're afraid that it might cause civil unrest. And we shouldn't accept that.
Okay, thank you, John. I'm out of time. Pick up on the conversation, guys. Text 0868 104 106. You can also email Neil